Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be going over a game where I beat a 2100. Now, I had a performance rating of almost Grandmaster level, so we're going to go ahead and quickly go over it. I'm going to move over the camera for a brief second just so you guys can see. On the accuracy on the right side of this hand of your screen, I had 89.6% accuracy versus 81.5. And the end game was kind of a short-ended game, but I had a 2450 rated performance. He played around his rating, a little bit under, and I found a really good tactic at the end of the game that sealed the win for me. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get it checked out. So I responded with e4. He goes e5, which actually, hold on, let me move my camera back. Forgot to do that. All right. So e4, e5. I'm an e4 guy. That's just what I go for. I go knight f3. He goes knight f6. And then I go for the Ruy Lopez opening, which for me, I really love it. It's actually the one opening I know probably the second best amount of book moves into it, but keep going. He goes knight f6, playing for the Berlin defense, and I castle. And then he goes a6, which is a miss because you're supposed to take this pawn, which I decided to bishop takes c6, which is a great move, automatically winning. Which you're supposed to take the pawn immediately, but I haven't really looked over the lines as much, so I kind of made a miss. E takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes, knight takes, and then bishop c5. And then I was like, okay, I can respond with bishop to maybe here, which we can go over the analysis real fast. C3 is the best move, which ends up happening. And then we continue on. He goes castles. And then I decided to bring the rook in, protecting the pawn, maybe looking for something like this later on down the road. He goes bishop back to a7, which, he's moving his bishop around a little too much, giving me the opportunity to have more momentum and more tempo in the opening. And then I decided to go e5, which is a mistake, mainly because of knight d5, just having a better knight in the center, pretty standard. He goes knight d5, I go bishop e3, just to kind of keep things, I guess, developed as best as I can. He didn't take the bishop, which was a miss because he plays c5. And then I decided to move my knight back to the typical f3 square for the rest, at least for a little while. He goes bishop to g4, pinning the knight to nothing, because obviously it's not a pin. And I go knight b to d2, protecting that and kind of holding on to the center a little bit. Could lash out with moves like h4, prompting for b5 to push forward. And then afterwards takes, and then I have kind of somewhat control over the file. But currently with this opening, we're in move 14, and he currently has 0.6 pawn advantage. So overall, I definitely ask for more out of my position. He could take my knight, and then I could take it, but really I'd probably think that's a mistake. He goes rook a to d8, just bringing more force onto this file, kind of keeping the knight in place while also ready for these pawn moves to push forward. I go h3 just to kind of kick the bishop. He takes, which then I take with my knight, and now it's kind of fallen back into my position. Like I mentioned before, taking the knight wasn't very good. And I remember mentioning this in my stream, going, hey, maybe this might be good. It might not be. But we continue on. He goes b5, and I decide to go a4 just to kind of, if he wants to take here, then I could take here. There we go, mouse is working. Looked okay so far. Still slight advantage for me. He takes e3, I take with the rook. And then I was kind of thinking about this position here. He could go here, and then I just kind of go here. And then everything's kind of protected. He could take, but if I take afterwards, then I have this bishop. So he doesn't want to do that. So he goes c4, and I go rook to e4. He goes bishop b6, and then I take the pawn. Pawn takes, and it's still a relatively drawish position. I have 0.1 advantage, nothing too crazy. And kind of continues on. I go knight d4, just putting my knight on a really good square. I was hoping he wouldn't take, so then I can kind of prompt for this and go for a nice fork. But obviously, he decides to go rook here to d5, probably holding on to his weaknesses, making sure things are not going to fall off the map. And then I decided to go f4, just holding on to my pawn, keeping things developed, allowing the loft for my king, because now I might be pinned. It's okay, though, because after this, I'm pretty solid, honestly. It's a drawish position, but we're doing okay. He goes f6, And then I go king h2, kind of walking away from this file because I was kind of thinking if I if he takes on this, I could take here, but then here's the problem. I can't take back because of that, or technically I was wrong. Technically I was wrong, never mind. I'll take back what I said. We'll continue on. He goes rook e8, and then I decide to kind of double the rooks to keep things, somewhat in line. And he goes b4, which I was kind of like, I have a couple ideas. I could push, I could bring the knight over, do a couple different things. And I decided to go knight c6, which the idea really was he can't go here. And if he does decide to go here, I could just take this. Even if he moves anything out of the way, I could still take this pawn. But obviously after that, bishop takes c3, or b takes c3, pawn takes, and it's still a really drawn position. And I'm not really winning much. But I go knight c6, he goes bc3, I go bc3, and he goes rook e6, threatening the knight. And then I take the pawn because it's hanging. You can't take with any of these because obviously this. And then here's where the game completely changed, guys. So I was quite thoroughly surprised. I was sitting there, it was last night, and I was playing, this was rapid, by the way, and I think we were relatively at decent time as far as comparison. And I'm kind of sitting here like, man, this is a draw, like, dang. But, hey, drawing somebody who's 600 rated higher than you is always nice because it's like, hey, you can somewhat reach that level as far as play. So, back to the position. Basically, he goes rook g6, which, if you already see why it's a blunder, you see that this move here is the game winner because it forks all the rooks and also the king. So, all of a sudden, I'm winning. And I see it within about 3 seconds, and I was like, oh, man, that's the game. And that's what happens. And I decide to take the free rook. He goes there, and then instantly I was like, man, I could just play, rook f1, and then what? You can't block. You can't really run away very far. It's basically over. And he resigns. And that was the game. And I ended up beating him. And then actually after that, we played a game where I think he beat me, and then I beat him. The second game, though, was kind of one of those games where it was like a choppy opening, low accuracy. It made fun of me. It said he played like I want to say like 1200, and I played like a 16. Nothing really crazy, but this game was amazing, and I was super happy because I've beaten him a few times. I think this makes it the third time I've beaten him. So I'm actually really happy that I've actually been able to hold my own a little bit against him. Although we've played games like back to back to back, and I've lost most of them. So the more I can start playing, the better. He mentioned in the live, he's probably going to see this video, but he was like, oh man, I need to take a break. This guy beat me. He's like 1200 or something like that. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that end. But yeah, had a wonderful game. It was phenomenal. Did very well, and I'm glad that I was able to pull it together and win the game. So I'm going to probably make another video here in a minute. This is going to be a short, quick video, nothing crazy. Just wanted to go over this because this was a good game, and I figured, hey, make a video out of it. So 89.6% accuracy with a 2450 rated performance. And I'm going to close down with that statement. I appreciate you guys joining the game and who joined the live that night as well. Got to see the performance. I'm going to be probably streaming tonight on TikTok. Go follow my account. It's chase_chess00 or king_chess00. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and take care. Peace.